Alright, so last lesson we did word problems that involved adding, subtracting and multiplying. Today we're doing word problems that involve dividing with decimals. Okay, so let's have a look at this first one. We have yesterday Kyle earned $137.12 for working 8 hours at the pizza shop. How much was he paid per hour? Okay, so we're looking at how much per hour. Alright, so the per means that we're dividing. So if you see that in a question, it means you're dividing. So just get your red pen, underline the words and put a divided by sign above per. Alright, so we're going to write down that we've got $137.12 because that's how much we're earning. Then we're going to divide by the number of hours. I always write divisions with a fraction bar, so we're dividing by the number of hours, which is 8 hours. And then when you put that in your calculator, put it in as a fraction, 137.12 over 8, press the equals. Now if you don't like the answer, because we do need a decimal here, press the SD button until you get a decimal, either SD or Shift SD to get a decimal. Alright, when you get your decimal, it'll say 17.14. Now, dollars is the only unit that we write in front of the number. So the dollars has to go in front of the number. Then we write per hour, like that at the end. Okay, number 2. So Trent took 5 hours to travel 163.5 kilometres on his bike. What was his average speed? Now don't worry too much about the word average, it might just confuse you. We're not finding averages. We're just trying to find his speed, and they're giving you a hint here in telling you that it's in kilometres per hour. Remember that per means we are going to be dividing. Okay, so we need the kilometres on the top of the fraction and the hours on the bottom of the fraction. Okay, so we have 163.5 kilometres on the top of the fraction. And on the bottom, the number of hours, which is 5 hours. Now you're going to put that into your fraction key on your calculator. Press your fraction key, 163.5 on the top, down arrow, press the 5 on the bottom. When you press equals, make sure you've got a decimal, so press SD if you don't, and you'll get 32.7. And on the end, we're going to write kilometres per hour. So all units go at the end except for the dollar sign. All right, number 3. We're going to have a look at Nathan. Now he's running 100 metres in the following times, and they've told you that all these times are in seconds. So he does 11.4 seconds, 12.1, 11.5, 11.8, 11.6 and 11.7. Now in part A, they say calculate the sum. Underline that word in red. Sum means we are adding. So we need to add up all these times. Now you must show that you are adding them in your working. Alright, so that's what we're going to do. 11.4 plus 12.1 plus 11.5 plus 11.3 plus 11.6 plus 11.7. You've got to write down what you're adding up. That is your working line. Okay, then we're going to total them up on your calculator and you will get 69.6. And our units are seconds. Remember, we can use an S for seconds. We can use S for seconds. That is an official abbreviation. All right, now, in the next question, it says calculate Nathan's average time. Okay, now we are finding an average this time. Okay, so to find an average, we're going to total up, or get the sum. In other words, we're going to add all of the times, the sum of the numbers. In this case, they are times. And then we're going to divide by the number of numbers. Okay, now in this case, we've already added up all our numbers down here, and that's what we got, 69.6. So we can write that on the top. Now the number of numbers, we're going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 numbers. So we're going to divide by 6. And if you get your calculator and do that, you will get 11.6 And we're just going to write on the end seconds because they're the units we're dealing with here. Okay, number 4. Now this question is a little bit trickier and a few of you are going to get a little bit confused, but so we're going to draw a little bit of a diagram for it in a minute. So we have a square wall tile. It's got a side length of the square of 0.3 metres. And we're going to lay them all out next to each other along a bathroom wall. That bathroom wall is 5.2 metres long. We want to know how many whole tiles that we're going to need for that one row along the wall. Okay, so if we draw a picture, right, we have a room and we're looking at just one wall of tiles. Okay, just one wall we're going along. So that wall is 5.2 metres long. And if we look at just one of these little square tiles, it's got a side length of 0.3. So we want to know how many 0.3s go into 5.2. So we're going to do 5.2 divided by 0.3. Right, so it's 5.2 metres divided by 0.3 metres. Now, if you do that on your calculator, you are going to get 17.33333, etc. It keeps going. We know that we normally would write that as 17.3 recurring with a little dot on the top. But this question wants to know how many whole tiles. Now, if we round this off, we would get, if we round to the nearest whole number, the next digit is a 3. That means we would keep the 7 and we would end up with 17 tiles. But in reality, is that what you're going to buy? Would you buy 17 tiles? I don't think you would, because you're going to have a little gap at the end that you haven't tiled. That would look really silly. Okay, so in this case, we're not rounding off. We're using our common sense to think, well, what would we buy? You would have to go up. All right, so what we do here is round up. We're not rounding off, we're rounding up. So that's going to take us up to the next tile, which is 18 tiles. So when you go to buy these tiles, you buy 18 tiles and you start to use them to lay along the wall. You'll get to 17 and there's that little gap, and then with that last tile you're going to use a tile cutter to cut a third of the tile off, and then you'll put it in the little piece at the end and it'll all look great. Okay, so that's how a tiler would do it. So if you look in your bathroom, you will find that you're not all going to have just a whole number of tiles along the wall. There will be some that look smaller than the others, and that's because they have cut them with the tile cutter. All right, so that's the end of that question. So I want you to have a go at the homework word problems. It's probably a good idea with these ones that you do write the word problem down, just so you can underline the important words. Then you do your working line and then an answer. Okay, there's at least one working line. In this one, we had a couple more because we had to think about what was going on with that funny answer there. Okay, so have a go at your homework and see how you go.